Discover the ancient secrets of wealth and prosperity hidden in the Psalm and transform your finances and build a legacy that lasts forever. What if I told you that the key to wealth and prosperity isn't found in modern finance books or get-rich-quick schemes? It's been hidden in plain sight for thousands of years within the Psalms. These ancient writings reveal timeless principles that have transformed countless lives. But here's the catch: most people overlook their deeper meaning. If you've ever struggled to find balance between faith and finances, or wondered how to create a legacy of lasting abundance, stay with me. What I'm about to share could change the way you think about wealth forever. Here's the truth: we live in a world obsessed with material success. Social media pressures us to compare, financial stress keeps us up at night, and the fear of not having enough often takes control of our lives. But what if there's a better way? A way to align your finances with your faith, experience true abundance, and live with purpose? The Psalms warn us about the dangers of chasing wealth for its own sake, but they also reveal a roadmap to prosperity rooted in wisdom, justice, and generosity. Most people either ignore these lessons or misunderstand them. And that's why so many fail to experience the blessings God intends for them. That's where this breakthrough framework comes in. It's called the Psalms Prosperity Path, and it's designed to unlock the ancient wisdom of the Psalms in a way that's practical, modern, and life-changing. You'll learn how to apply Psalm 112 to build wealth that blesses others while glorifying God. How to overcome anxiety about money with the principles of Psalm 37. Why generosity, as taught in Psalm 128, is the key to abundance, and how to live it out. This isn't just theory. It's a proven, biblically rooted system that helps you redefine success, create a legacy, and experience true prosperity. But don't just take my word for it. Meet Sarah, a mother of two who was drowning in debt and felt like she'd never get ahead. After applying these principles, she not only paid off her loans but also found peace of mind and a renewed sense of purpose. Or John, a business owner who shifted from chasing profits to creating a company that gives back. Inspired by Psalm 112, he now leads with generosity and his business is thriving like never before. These are just two examples of how the Psalms Prosperity Path has transformed lives. And it's all rooted in timeless biblical wisdom. Now it's your turn to experience this transformation. Watch this video to discover how you can truly succeed by applying the Psalms Prosperity Path principles. Your legacy of faith and abundance starts today. Welcome to Psalms Prosperity Path Guide. Let's start by talking about the biblical and contemporary view of wealth. Wealth is a concept that transcends time, yet its meaning shifts across cultures and generations. In the Psalms, wealth is more than material, it's a reflection of faith, trust, and responsibility. These ancient songs challenge us to redefine prosperity, inviting us to view it not as an end, but as a means to glorify God and uplift others. As we journey through their wisdom, consider this: what if wealth was less about what you own and more about how you live? Contextualization of wealth in the Psalms. In ancient times, wealth wasn't defined by bank accounts or corporate assets. Instead, it was tied to land, livestock, and the relationships that upheld tribal and communal life. The Psalms reflect this worldview, presenting wealth as both a blessing and a responsibility. To the psalmists, prosperity wasn't just material, it symbolized divine favor, a sign of walking in alignment with God's commands. What does it mean for us today to view wealth as part of a spiritual journey? The economy of the biblical world revolved around agriculture, trade, and alliances. Routes connecting Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Canaan were bustling with merchants carrying goods. Wealth wasn't just individual, it was often shared across families and tribes. The Psalms echo this communal perspective, where prosperity serves the greater good. Psalm 128 captures this beautifully: "You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours." How might our modern view of wealth shift with this mindset? While modern society often isolates wealth as a personal achievement, the Psalms tie it to justice and righteousness. Psalm 112 describes the righteous man as someone whose wealth reflects his fear of the Lord. Blessed is the man who fears the Lord. Wealth and riches are in his house, and his righteousness endures forever. This wealth isn't about excess, it's about integrity and purpose. Could our financial pursuits today align with such eternal principles? But the Psalms also acknowledge the fleeting nature of wealth. Psalm 49 warns against trusting in riches, stating, "Their tombs will remain their houses forever." This reminder underscores a timeless truth: material wealth is temporary, but spiritual wealth is enduring. This is not a condemnation of prosperity, but an invitation to see it through the lens of eternity. What are we building that will truly last? The psalmist lived in a world of sharp contrasts: those who hoarded wealth and those who used it to honor God. Psalm 37 captures this tension, showing the temporary success of the wicked and the enduring blessings of the righteous. Better the little that the righteous have than the wealth of many wicked. These words flip the modern narrative of success, inviting us to redefine what it means to live a truly prosperous life. The biblical view of wealth is profoundly relational. It's not just about possessions, it's about the responsibility to uplift others and glorify God. The Psalms challenge us to see wealth as a means, not an end, a tool for building a legacy of justice, generosity, and faith. In a world that often glorifies wealth for its own sake, this perspective remains countercultural. How might our lives change if we embraced this vision of prosperity? Contrast between the righteous and the wicked. The Psalms are filled with vivid contrasts between the lives of the righteous and the wicked. Psalm 37 exemplifies this. Do not fret because of those who are evil or be envious of those who do wrong, for like the grass they will soon wither. The psalmist reminds us that the apparent success of the wicked is temporary, while the blessings of the righteous endure. How often do we allow fleeting comparisons to steal our peace? The righteous man, according to Psalm 112, builds his life on fear of the Lord and obedience to his commands. His wealth isn't his focus, it's a reflection of his faithfulness. In contrast, Psalm 49 describes the wicked as those who trust in their wealth, believing it will secure their legacy. Yet, the psalmist warns, their wealth will not endure. These words challenge us to evaluate what we're truly relying on. What anchors your sense of security? The wicked often appear prosperous, but the Psalms caution against envying their success. Psalm 37 declares, "Better the little that the righteous have than the wealth of many wicked." This isn't just about material possessions, it's about the quality of life. The righteous live in peace, trusting God, while the wicked chase wealth to their own detriment. Imagine the freedom that comes from contentment rather than constant striving. What would that look like in your life? Psalm 73 delves even deeper into this tension. The psalmist laments the ease with which the wicked seem to thrive. They have no struggles, their bodies are healthy and strong. Yet he comes to a profound realization. Their prosperity is fleeting, a slippery place that leads to ruin. This shift in perspective reminds us that God's judgment is not immediate but eternal. What temporary successes are you tempted to envy, forgetting the bigger picture? The righteous, on the other hand, find their security in God. Psalm 112 states, "They will have no fear of bad news. Their hearts are steadfast, trusting in the Lord." Their wealth serves as a testament to their faith, a tool for blessing others and glorifying God. In contrast, the wicked cling to their riches, blinded by the illusion of permanence. What would it take for you to embrace the steadfast trust of the righteous? The wicked are often consumed by their greed, their possessions dictating their choices. Psalm 49 paints a sobering picture. People who have wealth but lack understanding are like the beasts that perish. This verse reminds us that without wisdom, wealth becomes meaningless. The righteous, however, see their resources as gifts from God, meant to serve a greater purpose. How are you using what you've been given to reflect God's character? While the wicked store up treasures for themselves, the righteous invest in eternity. Their generosity, as highlighted in Psalm 112, creates a legacy that outlasts their earthly possessions. They have freely scattered their gifts to the poor. Their righteousness endures forever. The impact of their actions ripples through generations, a stark contrast to the fleeting wealth of the wicked. What kind of legacy are you building with your resources today? The Psalms challenge us to choose a path, the fleeting success of the wicked or the enduring blessings of the righteous. They remind us that wealth, while significant, is not ultimate. It's a test of character, a tool for good, and a reflection of our faith. The wicked rely on riches that fail, while the righteous trust in God's provision. Which path will you choose, the temporary or the eternal? Problems and dilemmas of wealth. Wealth carries great potential, but it also brings challenges. Psalm 49 warns against trusting in riches, declaring, "Though while they live they count themselves blessed, they will join those who have gone before them, who will never again see the light of life." The psalmist highlights the delusion of security wealth often brings. In modern terms, this is the trap of thinking more possessions equal more peace. What are we trusting in, our bank accounts or God's eternal provision? Psalm 37 addresses another dilemma, the anxiety of comparison. Do not fret because of those who are evil or be envious of those who do wrong. How often do we measure our success against others, feeling inadequate when we don't match their achievements? The psalmist redirects us, urging trust in God over envy of fleeting success. This timeless lesson resonates in today's world of social media, where comparisons often steal our peace. How do you handle this pressure? Generosity, while celebrated in the Psalms, presents its own challenge. Psalm 112 praises the man who freely scatters his gifts to the poor, but our modern mindset often prioritizes accumulation over distribution. The tension lies in balancing wise stewardship with open-handed giving. How do we ensure our generosity reflects God's character rather than fear of scarcity? This is the heart of the dilemma, seeing wealth not as ours to keep but as a tool for blessing others. Another problem is the fleeting nature of wealth. Psalm 39 declares, "Man is a mere phantom as he goes to and fro. He bustles about, but only in vain. He heaps up wealth, not knowing who will get it." This verse points to the futility of chasing possessions at the expense of purpose. How often do we invest all our energy in things that won't last, neglecting what truly matters? What are we prioritizing in our pursuit of success? Psalm 128 offers a contrasting perspective, tying wealth to hard work and harmony. You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours, yet even diligence can become distorted when work becomes an idol. Modern culture glorifies the hustle, often at the cost of family, health, and faith. The psalm reminds us that prosperity is not just about achieving, it's about balance. Are we chasing wealth at the expense of what truly matters? Ultimately, the psalms present wealth as a test of character. Psalm 62 warns, "If riches increase, do not set your heart on them." This isn't a call to reject wealth but a reminder to hold it loosely. The real danger isn't in having wealth, it's in allowing it to define us. Whether we have much or little, the challenge is the same, to ensure our hearts are anchored in God, not in what we own. Where is your heart today? Spiritual connection and lessons of wealth. The Psalms consistently link wealth to spiritual alignment. Psalm 112 declares, "Blessed is the man who fears the Lord." This reverence isn't about fear in the modern sense. It's about awe and obedience. True prosperity flows from this relationship with God. Wealth becomes more than material, it reflects a life anchored in righteousness. This perspective shifts our focus from accumulation to alignment. What does it mean for your financial life to reflect trust in God and obedience to His will? Generosity, as celebrated in Psalm 112, reflects God's character. They have freely scattered their gifts to the poor. Their righteousness endures forever. The act of giving becomes a spiritual practice, mirroring the boundless generosity of God. When we give freely, we participate in His mission, extending blessings to others and glorifying His name. How might your generosity become a testament to your faith, a way to align your resources with eternal values? Psalm 128 ties wealth to diligence and divine blessings. You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours. The spiritual lesson here is profound. Prosperity is not earned in isolation, it's cultivated through faithful work and trust in God's provision. This psalm reminds us that our efforts, when aligned with His purpose, lead to flourishing that extends beyond material success. Are your efforts today rooted in faith or driven by fear? The Psalms redefine wealth as both a blessing and a responsibility. They challenge us to view it through a spiritual lens, where generosity becomes an act of worship, and prosperity is inseparable from purpose. In a world that idolizes possessions, this perspective remains countercultural and transformative. How will you align your financial journey with these eternal truths? The Psalms invite us to trust God, live generously, and build legacies that glorify Him. Key lessons on wealth and justice. Wealth is not merely a possession, it's a tool, a test, and an opportunity. In Psalm 112, it becomes a means to bless others and glorify God, while Psalm 37 addresses the anxiety of comparison, urging us to trust in divine timing. Psalm 128 celebrates harmony, tying prosperity to diligence and faithfulness. Each psalm reveals unique truths about wealth, challenging us to rethink its purpose. What if your financial journey was a reflection of your faith and values? Psalm 112, wealth that blesses and glorifies God. Psalm 112 begins with a profound declaration. Blessed is the man who fears the Lord. This man's wealth is not his focus, it's a byproduct of his faithfulness. His riches reflect his righteousness, and his life is marked by generosity and justice. Wealth and riches are in his house, and his righteousness endures forever. This isn't about materialism, it's about stewardship. Imagine your wealth serving as a testament to your faith, a beacon that points others to God's glory. This man's life is defined by generosity. Psalm 112 states, "They have freely scattered their gifts to the poor. Their righteousness endures forever." His giving isn't forced, it's an overflow of his gratitude to God. His wealth serves a higher purpose, extending blessings beyond himself. What would it look like to let your financial decisions reflect a heart of gratitude and trust in God? Could your generosity inspire others to do the same? But this psalm also emphasizes trust. They will have no fear of bad news. Their hearts are steadfast, trusting in the Lord. This trust allows him to give freely, knowing that his provision comes from God. Imagine living without financial fear, confident that God will meet your needs and use your resources to bless others. How might your life change if trust replaced anxiety in your financial journey? Generosity, as described in Psalm 112, creates a ripple effect. The man's giving impacts not just individuals but entire communities. His righteousness is remembered and his influence grows. This isn't about building personal empires, it's about expanding God's kingdom. When wealth is used to bless others, it transcends its material nature, becoming a tool for eternal impact. How might your generosity leave a legacy that outlasts you? Sarah's story illustrates the principles of Psalm 112. She was a small business owner who always felt trapped by financial worries. Inspired by this psalm, she began giving a portion of her income to local charities. Over time, her business flourished and her joy returned. Her story reminds us that generosity doesn't diminish, it multiplies. What step can you take today to trust God with your resources and reflect his generosity? Psalm 112 also highlights the connection between righteousness and influence. Surely the righteous will never be shaken, they will be remembered forever. This man's wealth isn't just material, it's spiritual, reflected in the lives he impacts and the legacy he leaves. Imagine a life where your financial decisions are remembered not for their extravagance but for their eternal significance. How are you using your influence to glorify God? The man described in Psalm 112 doesn't fear scarcity. They distribute freely to the poor, their righteousness endures forever. This verse highlights the power of open-handed living, a mindset rooted in abundance rather than lack. When we trust God as our provider, we're free to give generously, knowing he will supply our needs. What would change in your life if fear no longer held you back from generosity? Psalm 112 is not about perfection, it's about purpose. The man described here isn't wealthy because of his efforts alone. His wealth is a reflection of God's blessings. His righteousness guides his decisions, and his faith anchors his trust. This psalm challenges us to redefine wealth, not as a goal but as a tool for glorifying God and serving others. What purpose does your wealth serve today? Generosity also has practical benefits. Studies show that giving improves mental health and creates a sense of purpose. While the world often promotes hoarding as security, Psalm 112 flips this narrative. Generosity leads to joy, and trust in God replaces anxiety. Imagine the peace that comes from aligning your financial habits with eternal principles. Wouldn't that bring a deeper sense of fulfillment than mere accumulation ever could? This psalm also speaks to legacy. Their children will be mighty in the land. The generation of the upright will be blessed. The righteous man's wealth blesses not just his lifetime but future generations. His faithfulness creates a ripple effect, inspiring his family and community to follow his example. What kind of legacy are you building today? Is your wealth creating blessings that will outlast you? Consider James, who embraced the lessons of Psalm 112. A teacher by profession, he used his modest income to fund scholarships for underserved students. Over time, his generosity inspired others to contribute, creating a community of support. James's story reflects the truth of Psalm 112. Righteousness creates influence, and generosity multiplies blessings. How might your generosity inspire others to do the same? Psalm 112 also challenges the fear-driven mindset. They will have no fear of bad news. Their hearts are steadfast, trusting in the Lord. This man's peace comes not from his wealth but from his trust in God. Imagine living with that kind of confidence, free from fear, anchored in faith. How might this shift your perspective on wealth and security? Ultimately, Psalm 112 calls us to live generously and purposefully. It's a blueprint for aligning wealth with faith, using resources to bless others and glorify God. This psalm reminds us that wealth is temporary, but its impact can be eternal. How might you use what you've been given to create a legacy that reflects God's character? This psalm is both a challenge and an invitation. It asks us to examine our financial priorities and align them with God's principles. It invites us to live generously, trusting in God's provision and creating blessings that ripple through generations. Are you ready to let Psalm 112 transform your perspective on wealth and generosity? Psalm 112 closes with a promise. The wicked will see and be vexed, but the righteous will be remembered forever. This is a reminder that wealth rooted in righteousness endures. It transcends time, creating a legacy that reflects God's glory. What steps can you take today to align your wealth with the eternal truths of this psalm? Psalm 37, Overcoming Anxiety Through Trust in God. Psalm 37 begins with a reassurance. Do not fret because of those who are evil or be envious of those who do wrong. These words address a struggle as old as time, comparing ourselves to others, especially those who seem to prosper unjustly. The psalm redirects our focus, calling us to trust in God rather than envy fleeting success. What would your life look like if you trusted God's provision instead of measuring your worth against others? The psalm reminds us that God's justice is certain. For like the grass, they will soon wither, like green plants, they will soon die away. The success of the wicked may seem enduring, but it's temporary. In contrast, the righteous inherit lasting blessings. This verse shifts our perspective, reminding us to prioritize what endures. How often do we allow fleeting comparisons to steal our peace? What would change if we focused on God's eternal promises instead? Psalm 37 offers practical guidance. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Trust is not passive. It's active, paired with doing good and staying faithful where God has placed you. Imagine living with confidence that God sees your efforts and will provide for you. How would this change your daily decisions? How might trust replace the anxiety of striving to control every detail of your future? James's story reflects this principle. A graphic designer, he spent years chasing freelance clients, anxious about financial stability. Inspired by Psalm 37, he began praying over his work, asking God to direct his steps. Slowly his perspective shifted. Instead of striving, he started trusting. Projects came in steadily and his peace grew. James's journey reminds us that trust doesn't eliminate challenges, it transforms how we face them. What areas of your life need that kind of trust today? The psalm also addresses the allure of shortcuts. Better the little that the righteous have than the wealth of many wicked. This verse flips modern narratives of success, reminding us that integrity outweighs possessions. The world often glorifies quick riches, but Psalm 37 calls us to live differently. It teaches us that contentment rooted in righteousness brings true peace. Are your financial goals aligned with God's principles, or are they driven by fleeting desires? Contentment is a recurring theme in Psalm 37. The meek will inherit the land and enjoy peace and prosperity. This promise invites us to find joy in trusting God's provision rather than chasing temporary success. Imagine the freedom that comes from letting go of comparison and embracing what God has given you. What would it take to find contentment in your current circumstances, trusting that God's timing is perfect? Imagine a mother reading Psalm 37 during a season of financial uncertainty. Her family's income has decreased, and the future feels overwhelming. As she prays over the words, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart," a peace begins to grow. She chooses to trust God's faithfulness rather than giving in to fear. This isn't just a biblical story, it's one that could unfold in your life today. The psalm emphasizes patience. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways. In a fast-paced world, waiting can feel unbearable. But Psalm 37 calls us to trust God's timing. Imagine the peace that comes from surrendering your plans to Him, knowing that His provision is perfect. What would it look like to replace anxiety with patience, trusting that God is working even when you can't see it? Trust transforms how we view obstacles. The Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in Him. Though he may stumble, he will not fall. This verse reminds us that God's faithfulness doesn't eliminate challenges, it carries us through them. Imagine walking through life with the confidence that God upholds you, even in uncertainty. How might this shift your perspective on setbacks and struggles? Psalm 37 also calls us to generosity. The righteous give generously, their children will be a blessing. This verse ties trust to action, reminding us that faith isn't just internal, it's expressed in how we live. Generosity, even in uncertain times, reflects a heart that trusts God as the ultimate provider. What opportunities for generosity might God be calling you to embrace, trusting that He will meet your needs? The psalm addresses the fear of scarcity. I was young and now I am old, yet I have never seen the righteous forsaken or their children begging bread. These words are a profound reminder that God's provision is unwavering. Imagine living without the fear of lack, confident that God sees your needs and will provide in His timing. How would this assurance change the way you approach your finances and future? Consider Anna, a teacher struggling to make ends meet. She was inspired by Psalm 37 to tithe consistently, trusting God's provision despite her tight budget. Over time, unexpected blessings came her way, support from friends, promotions, and opportunities to give back. Her story reflects the Psalm's truth. Trusting God opens doors we couldn't imagine. How might stepping out in faith transform your financial journey? The righteous, as described in Psalm 37, live with a different focus. Turn from evil and do good, then you will dwell in the land forever. Their lives aren't marked by striving for temporary success but by faithfulness to God's commands. This verse challenges us to prioritize righteousness over recognition, trusting that God's blessings follow obedience. How might your decisions change if you pursued faithfulness over fame? Psalm 37 invites us to shift our perspective on success. It's not about what we gain, it's about who we trust. The righteous find peace in God's provision, even when the world feels unstable. Imagine the freedom that comes from aligning your financial journey with His eternal promises. How might trusting Him transform your anxiety into peace? The psalm ends with a promise. The salvation of the righteous comes from the Lord. He is their stronghold in times of trouble. This verse reminds us that ultimate security comes from God, not possessions. Imagine a life where trust replaces fear, generosity overcomes greed, and contentment anchors your heart. How will you let Psalm 37 shape your perspective on wealth and faith today? Psalm 128, Generosity and Harmony. Psalm 128 opens with a promise. Blessed are all who fear the Lord, who walk in obedience to Him. This psalm ties prosperity directly to devotion and diligence. It celebrates not just material wealth but the harmony and joy that come from living according to God's principles. Imagine a life where your efforts are blessed and your relationships flourish. What would it take to align your work and family life with God's purpose today? This psalm connects hard work with divine blessings. You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours. It's not about shortcuts or entitlement, it's about diligence rooted in faith. The psalm reminds us that prosperity isn't instant. It's cultivated through effort and trust in God. Picture a farmer planting seeds, trusting God for the harvest. What seeds are you planting in your life right now, and are they rooted in faith or fear? Psalm 128 also highlights the role of generosity in prosperity. While the world often views giving as a loss, this psalm celebrates it as a path to joy and fulfillment. Imagine the ripple effect of your generosity, not just in the lives you bless but in your own heart. How can your work and resources reflect the generous character of God, creating a legacy that extends far beyond material wealth? Anna's story embodies this principle. A single mother working 2 jobs, she prioritized tithing and supporting her local church. Over time, her generosity inspired others, creating a community of mutual support. Psalm 128's promise came alive in her life. Blessings flowed, not just in her finances but in her relationships. Anna's story reminds us that God's blessings often extend beyond what we can see. How might your generosity transform your community? This psalm also ties prosperity to family harmony. Your wife will be like a fruitful vine within your house. Your children will be like olive shoots around your table. This imagery reflects the blessings of a home rooted in faith and love. It reminds us that true prosperity isn't just about what we earn, it's about who we build alongside us. How are you investing in the relationships that matter most in your life? James and Lisa, a young couple inspired by Psalm 128, made a commitment to prioritize family time and generosity despite their busy schedules. They began hosting meals for neighbors, creating a sense of community. Over time, their home became a place of harmony and joy, reflecting the blessings described in the psalm. Their story challenges us to consider, what kind of environment are we cultivating in our homes? Psalm 128 also emphasizes the joy of seeing your work bear fruit. You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours. This verse celebrates the satisfaction that comes from honest, faithful effort. Imagine working not just for financial gain but for the joy of seeing your efforts bless others. How might your perspective on work change if you saw it as a partnership with God? Generosity, as described in this psalm, is not limited to financial giving. It extends to time, kindness, and hospitality. The psalm reminds us that blessings are multiplied when we open our hearts and homes to others. Imagine how your acts of kindness today could ripple through the lives of those around you, creating a legacy of love and faith. What opportunities for generosity are right in front of you? Psalm 128 also offers a vision of long-term impact. May you live to see your children's children. Peace be on Israel. This blessing reflects the generational impact of a life lived in harmony with God's principles. Imagine your decisions today shaping the lives of your grandchildren, creating a legacy of faith and purpose. How are you aligning your life with values that will outlast you? This psalm celebrates balance, a life where hard work, generosity, and family come together in harmony. It reminds us that true prosperity isn't about perfection, it's about aligning our priorities with God's purpose. Imagine letting go of the hustle culture and embracing a rhythm of life that reflects His design. What would it take for you to live with this kind of balance and peace? Consider Paul, a retired carpenter who embraced Psalm 128's call to live generously. Despite his modest income, he spent his time mentoring young apprentices and volunteering in his community. His life became a reflection of the Psalm's promise. Blessings flowed, not just materially but relationally. Paul's story reminds us that prosperity isn't about how much you have, it's about how you use it. How can your life reflect this principle today? Psalm 128 also challenges the mindset of entitlement. It reminds us that blessings are not owed, they are gifts from God. Blessed are all who fear the Lord, who walk in obedience to Him. This verse calls us to humility, recognizing that our prosperity is a reflection of His grace, not our efforts alone. How might this perspective shift your attitude toward your work and wealth? This psalm invites us to see work as worship. You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours. Imagine approaching your daily tasks with a heart of gratitude, seeing them as opportunities to glorify God. How might this perspective transform your attitude toward mundane responsibilities, turning them into moments of connection with His purpose? Psalm 128 also ties prosperity to peace. May you see the prosperity of Jerusalem all the days of your life. This verse reminds us that true wealth isn't about competition, it's about community flourishing together. Imagine living in a way that contributes to the well-being of those around you, reflecting God's love in every interaction. How are you creating peace in your relationships and community today? The psalm concludes with a vision of legacy. May you live to see your children's children. This isn't just about material inheritance. It's about the values, faith, and love you pass down. Imagine your life as a foundation for future generations, a testament to God's blessings and your faithfulness. What steps can you take today to build a legacy that reflects His glory? Legacy and practical lessons. Wealth, as seen through the lens of the Psalms, is both a gift and a responsibility. Psalm 112 reminds us that generosity creates a ripple effect, blessing both the giver and the receiver. Psalm 37 teaches us to trust in God's provision rather than fret over fleeting successes. Psalm 128 celebrates the harmony that comes from aligning our work and relationships with God's purpose. These principles challenge us to redefine success, not as accumulation but as impact. The Psalms consistently highlight the eternal over the temporary. Psalm 49 warns us against trusting in riches, reminding us that material wealth is fleeting. Instead, true prosperity lies in our character, relationships, and obedience to God. Imagine living in a way that prioritizes what lasts: faith, love, and generosity. How might this perspective shift your financial goals and daily decisions, creating a legacy that reflects God's eternal values? Legacy is a recurring theme in the Psalms. Psalm 112 declares, "Their children will be mighty in the land. The generation of the upright will be blessed." This verse points to the generational impact of a life lived in righteousness. Imagine your generosity inspiring your children to live with the same values, creating a ripple effect of blessings that extends far beyond your lifetime. What legacy are you building for future generations? Generosity isn't just about financial giving, it's about living with open hands and open hearts. Psalm 128 ties prosperity to relationships, celebrating the harmony of a family rooted in faith and love. This challenges us to see wealth not as a solitary pursuit but as a shared journey. Imagine creating a home where blessings flow freely, shaping the lives of those around you. How are you using your resources to cultivate harmony and joy? Trust is central to the Psalm's message about wealth. Psalm 37 reassures us that the Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in Him. This verse invites us to surrender our anxieties, trusting that God's plan is greater than our fears. Imagine the freedom that comes from letting go of control and trusting God with your finances, relationships, and future. What would it take to live with this kind of peace? The Psalms also challenge the mindset of entitlement. Psalm 128 reminds us that blessings come from obedience and gratitude, not from entitlement. Blessed are all who fear the Lord, who walk in obedience to Him. This perspective shifts our focus from what we think we deserve to recognizing God's grace in all we receive. How might gratitude reshape your attitude toward your work, wealth, and relationships today? Contentment is another key lesson. Psalm 37 invites us to delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. This isn't about getting everything we want, it's about aligning our desires with God's will. Imagine finding joy in what you already have, trusting that God's provision is sufficient. How would contentment transform your perspective on success and satisfaction? The Psalms call us to live with purpose, using our wealth as a tool for impact rather than an end in itself. Psalm 112 celebrates the righteous man whose generosity reflects God's character, creating blessings that endure forever. This challenges us to ask, are our financial goals rooted in self-interest, or are they aligned with God's eternal mission? What steps can you take to ensure your resources serve a higher purpose? The harmony described in Psalm 128 reminds us that prosperity isn't just material, it's relational. Your wife will be like a fruitful vine within your house. Your children will be like olive shoots around your table. This verse paints a picture of a life where work, faith, and relationships are in balance. Imagine creating a legacy of love and faith that extends to future generations. How are you cultivating this harmony in your life today? Generosity, as emphasized in the Psalms, is transformative. It changes both the giver and the receiver, creating a cycle of blessings that reflects God's love. Imagine the impact of living generously, not out of obligation but as a joyful response to God's blessings. What opportunities for generosity can you embrace today, trusting that God will use your gifts to bring hope and healing to others? The Psalms remind us that wealth is temporary, but its impact can be eternal. Psalm 49 declares, "For all can see that the wise die, that the foolish and the senseless also perish, leaving their wealth to others." This isn't a call to reject wealth but to steward it wisely, ensuring it reflects God's glory. Imagine your financial legacy as a testament to your faith, inspiring others to live generously and purposefully. Peace is a recurring promise in the Psalms. Psalm 37 reassures us, "The meek will inherit the land and enjoy peace and prosperity." This peace isn't about external circumstances, it's about a heart anchored in trust and gratitude. Imagine living with a peace that transcends financial uncertainty, rooted in the assurance of God's provision. How might this shift your perspective on wealth and success? Legacy, generosity, trust. These themes converge in the Psalms, creating a vision of wealth that is deeply spiritual and profoundly impactful. Psalm 112 celebrates the enduring influence of the righteous, while Psalm 128 ties prosperity to relationships and harmony. Together, they challenge us to view wealth not as a destination but as a journey, a way to reflect God's character and create lasting blessings. The Psalms call us to redefine success. They invite us to build wealth that blesses others, trust in God's provision, and cultivate harmony in our relationships. This isn't just about financial principles, it's about spiritual transformation. Imagine aligning your life with these truths, creating a legacy that reflects God's glory. What steps can you take today to live generously, faithfully, and purposefully? The final challenge of the Psalms is clear. Use what you've been given to glorify God and bless others. Whether through generosity, trust, or diligence, the principles of Psalm 112, 37, and 128 offer a roadmap for living a life of eternal impact. Imagine the legacy you could create by embracing these truths. What will your story reveal about your faith, your priorities, and your purpose? Your transformation doesn't end here, it's just the beginning. Hit that subscribe button right now to ensure you never miss another life-changing video. Align your financial life with eternal values starting today, and watch as your legacy of faith and abundance begins to unfold. Don't wait. Take this step now and secure the blessings that are waiting for you. See you in the next video.